Welcome to Motherhood Unstressed, a podcast for anyone who wants to let go of stress and anxiety, take their power back, and learn how to create a truly beautiful life. Each week, I'm speaking with amazing individuals who are experts in the field of entrepreneurship, fitness, nutrition, motherhood, sex, and so much more. I'm your host, Liz Carlisle. I'm a mom, a blogger, and a certified health coach. I'm obsessed with personal growth and change, and I've helped women all around the world regain alignment with what they truly value in life and remove the blocks preventing them from living their life to the fullest. If you're ready to stop living a half life and move fully into your power, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey guys, in this episode I'm speaking with Charlie Rocket, aka CEO Charlie. He's a Nike athlete and host of The Charlie Rocket Show. And in this episode, it's all about dreaming big for yourself and your life, and putting into practice the law of attraction and quantum physics to make that happen. This was such a fun episode to record. Charlie is so inspirational, such a positive spirit, and I think his story is really going to inspire you. So if something in this episode resonates with you, please share it with a friend and tag me on your Insta stories and what about this particular episode spoke to you. I think you're really going to love this episode, and it's going to get you to start tuning your heart to the right frequency so that you can bring into your life experience everything you ever wanted or ever dreamed of. Enjoy. This episode is sponsored by Motherhood Unstressed CBD supplements. These are the supplements that I created with the intention of helping you, the listener, battle stress and anxiety in a natural way. Customers have reported feeling so much more grounded and calm, sleeping better. Their inflammation or like shoulder pain, back pain is eliminated. I mean, the stories I'm getting back since our launch in October have been just incredible, and it's just so encouraging to know that, Motherhood Unstressed has a product out there that's helping so many people. So why not to just give our listeners a little bit of context about you and your story? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your origin story and how it led to you being a Nike athlete and now a top-rated podcast host?
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you, it's a crazy story. So everybody listening, please buckle up. There's one thing I'm going to want everybody to get out of this, and it's that you've got to dream crazy and you've got to believe bigger. That is a secret. I'm living proof of it. I'm probably a lot like the listeners, been through a lot. I was at a point in my life where I thought my story was over, to where I was looking at my life and I was like, is that it? Like, is my heyday over? Like, was that the end of the journey? And I'm just supposed to go through the rest of my life, play out a movie that has a bad ending. I didn't want my movie to have a bad ending. And I felt like at that point when I was 305 pounds and diagnosed with a brain tumor, I always suffered from a binge eating disorder. And I was in the music industry, and I had pretty much everything that people say you should want. And yet I was as unhappy as I had ever been in my life. Like, we won a Grammy, we had world tours. I'm originally from Atlanta, and I was in the hip hop business. But business was these triggers for an addiction of mine. And a terrible thing to be addicted to is food, because you need it to live. But business for me, the stress of business was a trigger for food. The success of business was celebration, and that would lead to food. And also, like, business lunches, business dinners would lead to food. So I was trapped. And I would always diet ever since I was 10 years old. And I was always restricting what I would eat, but then the business would trigger. So then I would trip down one step and then just push myself down all the rest when I would mess up on my diet, because my relationship with food was so negative. I was fearful of, is what I'm going to eat going to make me fall down all the steps and binge eat again? So when I was at my darkest point in my life, I said to myself, you know what? I need to go back to my 8-year-old dream. And when I was 8, I wanted to be an athlete. That's all I wanted. I believe our truest dream that's inside of us is something that's already in us. I don't think it's something that we download, or we think of. There's a true dream that's inside of us. It's kind of like solitaire on a Windows computer. It's just there, and my truest dream was to be an athlete. But that didn't make any sense. But I knew that my story wasn't over yet. And I was sitting there looking at my life, and I said, I'm going to reinvent absolutely everything. I'm going to chase this dream, and I don't care what it costs. I don't care what it takes. My story isn't over yet. And I walked away from my $15 million a year business. I moved from Atlanta to California. I wanted to make a new algorithm for life. I wanted to be surrounded by new things. If you notice on social media, if you like something, the algorithm shows you more of it. It's kind of like the law of attraction, but it's like called artificial intelligence on computers. But we have that same thing going on in our real lives, that if we like something in real life, the law of attraction surrounds us by it. Like if you like kitten videos on Facebook, now it just starts showing you kitten videos. So I wanted to use that mentality of I want to create a new algorithm for my life. So I need to start liking new things. So when I said I'm going to be an athlete, I gave myself a name, Charlie Rocket. And I gave myself an outfit, and I created this identity for myself that was going to save my life. Charlie Rocket was going to be the superhero that saved my life. And I lost 130 pounds. I did an Ironman in New Zealand. I biked across America this year, and I've done 5 marathons. And my story captivated, a lot of people this year. But one of the most interesting stories was how the Nike deal came about. And I just did a podcast episode about it that I just released this morning. And it all started with my belief in the law of attraction. And I would write down in my notebook every single day, I will be a Nike athlete. And I believed it. Like I didn't just want it. And I believed in it. But for a reason bigger than just money or fame, I believed in it because I knew my story would help people. I believed Nike needed a common man athlete. That was going to be the athlete that inspired the world, because 7 out of 10 Americans are overweight. 7 out of 10. That's an insane number. And so like most all of us are dealing with this. But when we look at these Nike commercials and everybody's so perfect, or when we look on social media and everybody's so perfect, I said to myself, being perfect never helped anybody. And I said, you know what? I'm going to talk about my flaws, and I'm going to talk about my life story, and I'm going to create a fan-made Nike commercial for those of us who aren't elite athletes. And I said, I hope Nike sees this, and I hope millions are inspired. And I put it out. And 3 days later, Nike gave me a call and said, we don't know who you are, but you have our entire Nike campus in a frenzy. And they flew me up to Beaverton, Oregon. And I'd write in my notebook every single day, I want to be in a commercial with LeBron and Serena. And it came true. I was in a commercial with LeBron James and Serena Williams. It was the Colin Kaepernick commercial. And I want to say I don't know how it worked because it's crazy, but I do know how it worked. Like I write down every day, and I believe, and I take the steps forward to make it happen. And when you take those steps forward, that's called work. But it wasn't work that got it done, but the work just increased the law of attraction. And it came back to me, and it's been a big inspiration for quite a few people this year. And thank you for having me on your podcast. Hopefully it'll inspire your audience as well.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, your story. It's amazing. Even if you didn't have the Nike commercial, even if you didn't have this amazing podcast that you've started that's already hit over 20,000 downloads in like a few weeks, the story that you have, the transition that you made is really unbelievable. And the dedication that you had to achieving your dreams, 5 marathons and an Ironman. I mean, that's incredible from where you were just, a year ago. No, it really is. And I think so many people are just amazed by that fact alone. And then you add in like all the other layers, and you scale it. It's just incredible. So I definitely want to talk to you about how you use the law of attraction to kind of make that happen, how you kept on that path, because I've done half marathons, and I'm at the end, I'm like, I'd never want to run any further than that because it just beats your body up. So talk to us about how quantum physics and the law of attraction played into you achieving your dream of being a Nike athlete.
So when I learned about quantum physics, I needed to boil it down to the simplest form because it's very, very complicated stuff. But in quantum physics, it states that an atomic particle is not just a piece of matter, but instead it is a wave. So picture rock not being a rock, but when you drop it in the pond, it's actually the waves that come off of it. So I said to myself, if everything I'm made of, every atomic particle is a wave, then I'm a wave. And if everybody else is a wave, then that means they're a wave too. So somewhere out there in this pond of life, we're all collided. Because if you were a wave over there, and I'm a wave right here, and the listener is a wave over there, we're all collided. So I'm technically connected or entangled with what I want. I just need to strengthen the signal to get it to come to me, AKA the law of attraction, which is backed by quantum physics. So what I did was I said, okay, how do I increase my signal to attract what I want in life? If I'm already connected to it, I just need it to be able to come to me. And for it to come to me, I need my signal to reach further. It's like a cell phone. Like we all hate a weak signal because if there's a weak signal, we can't connect to the other side, right? So I want a strong signal. I want full bars. So the first thing I did was I had to get rid of any of the negative people that were surrounding me. That's like being in an elevator. The signal just can't go very far if there's all this stuff blocking it. So I started getting rid of things and I got rid of any negativity. The second thing I did was I started eating high frequency food because I look at food as, is it dead or alive? Let's take a Cliff Bar, for example. Now, a Cliff Bar is healthy, right? But a Cliff Bar is dead. It can sit on a shelf for 4 years. What do you think the frequency coming off something that's dead? It's a low frequency versus, an orange glowing in frequency. So I started eating majority high frequency foods. And you know what they say, you are what you eat. If you eat alive, you're going to feel alive. If you eat dead, you're going to feel dead. Well, most of my life, I was feeling pretty dead. Well, what was I eating? A lot of processed packaged goods, a lot of meat. I went vegan, plant-based diet, high frequency living foods. That's how I was able to reverse my brain tumor. That's how I was able to lose 130 pounds. And that's also how I was able to increase my attraction because quantum physics states that we're all connected. So I was able to, like something crazy happened today. I was telling you before we got on the podcast. I wrote in my notebook this morning, and if you go on my Instagram, you'll see it. Number 15 on my quantum possibilities notebook said, a huge brand will contact me today about doing a deal. Now, there's only been one brand in the history of my life contact me. So it's not something that happens often. I'm not a big celebrity. I wrote it down in my notebook, and 30 minutes ago, I got a phone call from a very, very large brand that wants to give me a deal and do commercials and all sorts of content. And I immediately went on my Instagram and had to talk about it. And I said, this is crazy. I wrote it down. And maybe there's a better word other than crazy because it's not crazy because it's happening a lot in my life. I talk about it on podcasts, all these things that I've been able to attract. But I also woke up this morning and the first thing I wrote in my notebook was, I'm a creator. And I went on my run and I'm sending out all these vibes. And then I write in my quantum possibility notebooks all the things that I want. And ding, one came to life today. And so that's a little bit inside the head of old Charlie Rocket and his quantum possibilities.
Well, that's so interesting. I wonder, though, what do you think do you think that maybe you got pinged because you have some sort of like psychic ability about this event that was going to be happening today, and so that's what came through? Or do you think that you attracted it?
I think it's both. Something told me to write it down. And something also, I think we're a lot like radio stations. Mm-hmm. So let's take a radio. So I'm holding a box right here, and let's say this is a radio. And if I want to listen to, let's say, 103.3, well, what is 103.3? That is a frequency. This radio can receive a frequency if it's just tuned to it. So let's say our hearts are a radio, and somewhere out there in the world are some songs, aka what we want to listen to or what we want to attract to us. So if I tune my heart to a certain frequency, it then can receive what we said we wanted. If I want hip hop, I tune to a hip hop station. If I want pop, I turn to a pop station. If I want country, I tune to a country station. So my Quantum Possibilities notebook is me tuning to the station that I want. And the second we tune to it, it's now allowed to receive it, just like a radio. So radio waves are frequencies. You are a frequency. I'm a frequency. The brand deal that I wanted was a frequency. I just tuned my radio. I hope that makes sense for everybody listening.
No, it absolutely makes sense for me. And the audience is very open-minded and into this. So I think that it'll make sense for them too. And there's something about what you're saying. It just feels right, because anyone has had experiences like this, and whether good or bad, bringing into their lives. And they're like, man, I felt like I was already thinking about this, and then it showed up. So whether it's positive, negative, neutral, it works all of the time.
Yes, it does. 100%. It's like a law is always working. So like gravity doesn't pick and choose when it feels like working. So quantum physics is never not working. It is literally what we are all made of. So, that's why we have to believe bigger. That's why I prescribe to people to believe bigger, because once you believe in this and you see all the stories, I mean, you could do your research on, what Jim Carrey, for example. Like if we could just normalize these experiences, we can then believe bigger and not think it's hocus pocus. But if you study a little bit about quantum physics, it makes it way less hocus pocus than just, The Secret or law of attraction, which seems a little woo-woo. But quantum physics is literally the science behind law of attraction.
So for our listeners, what could you tell them? How could they, in practical terms, start tuning their hearts to the right frequency and start attracting things that they really desire in life?
So for me, when I'm able to attract things is when I'm like, when it's purpose driven, when I can, like our hearts have intelligence, first of all. Our minds will play tricks on us, but our hearts won't. So we've got to learn how to listen to it and shut down our minds sometimes, because both have intelligence, but this can't play tricks on us. If I were to ask you right now, what would be the word you would say after this sentence? Follow your
heart.
Why not follow your mind?
It's just wrong.
It sounds wrong, doesn't it? Or if I were to say, point to yourself, you would point to your heart. You wouldn't point at your forehead. That would be weird. Like point to yourself. That's a weird. No, we know to point to our hearts because that's who we truly are. Where our minds will be confused on what we are. So one day I got super frustrated because the Nike commercial, I made a fan-made Nike commercial that got the Nike deal, and I needed a videographer. And I tuned my heart because I was frustrated and I was mad because people were telling me what I was looking for wasn't realistic. And because I wanted a videographer, I wanted an editor, I wanted somebody who did color correction and made music. Like I wanted the dream videographer. And everybody in Los Angeles said, Charlie, you're crazy. That's not possible. Well, one day I wrote down in my notebook, today I searched and found my videographer. It's easy. That's what I wrote. It was in an incomplete sentence, but that's what I wrote. And he walked through my front door, but I tuned my heart to what I was looking for.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, do you think when you decided to change your life, essentially become a completely different person, was it one moment where you were tuning to this new person, or was it a series of moments thinking about it, gearing up for it? I mean, what was that like? Because personal change, I ask that because personal change is the hardest thing that anyone can do, no matter what they're going through. So talk to us about that.
rock bottom is a real place, and you don't know you're there until you're out of it. It's kind of like a hindsight 2020 place because there's many, many rock bottoms. But at my rock bottom, I remember I was sitting on a beach just talking to God. I was in nature just begging for answers. And I remember the sun was setting, and the last little sliver of sun, I heard a voice. And it was, I believe God, because I believe in God, but it was so clear to me. And it said, right as the sun was setting, it said, go on a journey. And then I thought back to like all the superheroes of the world. And superheroes aren't just people who like wear capes, you know, like Frodo or Katniss Everdeen. Like these are all superheroes, and they were all called on a journey. That's scary. Everybody to leave where they're from, to go somewhere, and then go through all these obstacles of getting knocked down, almost killed, but then getting back up, saving the world, and then going home to tell everybody the stories that they learned. And as that sun was setting, that's when I knew I had to change everything. I had to go on a journey. And now I'm back at the village telling everybody what I've experienced.
That's beautiful.
That's the path I'm on.
Wow, that's amazing. So is that what you want your legacy to be? What do you want your legacy to be?
It's going to be many stories in the legacy. I'm 30 years old. I have a long ways to go. I want to experience so much, but I want to share this energy. I want to teach people a way of life. That term, a way of life, is the ultimate legacy. For example, there was somebody who came up with veganism. I don't know who it was, but it was a way of life. And now there's people like me who are out preaching it. Or Jesus, for example, taught a way of life, good versus bad. You know, like how to be a better person. That's what Christianity or most all religions are all about. And 2,000 years later, we're still doing it. Jesus is long gone, you know, but it's like he's still here. Or Marcus Aurelius with Stoicism. That was a way of life, but that was 2,000 years ago as well. And it's still going on. So I'm going to experience things all throughout my life. And I want to teach people what I've learned. So maybe 2,000 years from now, it'll still be going.
I love that.
Thank you.
So if there's anything from our talk today that you would want our listeners to walk away with, really remember and hold forever, what would that be?
Go to CVS, buy a notebook and a pen, and know that pen is a magic wand. And I want you to write from your heart every single morning and write down quantum possibilities. Have a little bit of fun. YouTube, you know, quantum physics, law of attraction. Have a little fun so you can start believing bigger in how all this works. And I guarantee you'll start getting the craziest stories happening in your life. And I'm reporting all my crazy stories every day so people can see that it is normal as long as you can believe big and dream crazy.
I love that. So what's next for you? What's next for Charlie Rocket?
Well, this year is going to be amazing. Going to do a lot of speaking engagements. So if anybody listening wants to have me come to their city, ask their corporation, or just request Charlie Rocket to come to your city. Also releasing a book called The Life and Death of CEO Charlie, and just sharing my energy. That's my goal. Like I want to be in front of people. You know, the internet is great. I love it. I create podcasts and videos, but I want to be in front of people and share my energy.
I love that. I totally resonate with that. So I do have some rapid fire questions if you're ready.
I'm ready.
I knew you would be. Okay. Success to me is
moving forward. That's it. Like the universe is ever expanding, right? So at one point it was a little ball, and now it's like growing and moving millions of miles an hour. I have to be moving with it. If I'm sitting still, I'm unsuccessful. If I'm just taking one step forward, I'm successful and happy as long as I'm moving forward.
I believe in.
I believe in God. I believe in believing bigger. I believe that God created everything for us to have these tools to create the life and be able to carry out like he wants the best for us. And he wants us to go on a journey on how to learn how to be successful. It shouldn't be easy. We'll be challenged, and we're supposed to reach our hands back and help other people as well. So that's what I believe in.
I'm grateful for.
I am grateful for all the things that went wrong with me, because I look at it like this. Okay, a negative. It's like a horizontal line, like a minus sign. A negative knocks you down. Okay. But when you get up, it turns into a positive. So you had this horizontal sign and you go down, but when you get up, now it's a plus. For example, I would not have got a Nike deal if I wasn't 305 and had a brain tumor. Those things knocked me down, but when I got up, it turned into inspiring the world. So that is what I'm truly grateful for. It's all the things that are wrong.
And last one, what's something that you've learned in life that you wish someone would have told you earlier on?
Spend more time with my grandfather. That's the only thing. He passed away. It's who I was named after. He was my best friend. But when he got sick, I was distracted by the wrong things. I was distracted by this one particular girl, and I just wish somebody would have came and told me, don't make that mistake, because it's the only regret I have in my life.
Oh, that's amazing. So what's the best way for our listeners to follow you, find you online?
There's two ways that I love. Instagram, I'm at Charlie on Instagram, and podcast, Charlie Rocket Show. Those are my two favorite places to hang out.
And I'm obsessed with your podcast. It's only been out for a little while, and it's like I look forward to it so much now, that fast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on yours.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode with Charlie Rocket. I hope that it inspired you to dream bigger for yourself and your life. And if something resonated with you in this episode, share it with a friend. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or share it in your Insta stories, and make sure that you tag Motherhood Unstressed and talk about what really touched you about this particular episode. And of course, I'll share it back out to our community. Till next time, love you guys. This episode is sponsored by Four Sigmatic. Use the code UNSTRESSED at checkout and you will receive 15% off. I love the mushroom blends. I like the chaga and the lion's mane. It gives me energy, focus, and I know I'm helping my immune system because I haven't been sick in a year. It's crazy. Also, this episode is sponsored by Organifi. Organifi is my new favorite product to put in all of my smoothies. Instead of having to juice and buy a bunch of vegetables, I literally just put the green juice into my smoothie blend, and I'm getting all the greens I need for the day. Again, you can use the code UNSTRESSED at their checkout for 15% off.